Welcome again to the Talking Pictures podcast with hosts Tony Toscano, Cici Chambers, and Raquel Baldwin-Horton.
Well, welcome to the Talking Pictures podcast for a brand new year. 2017 just unfolded, and I'm so glad to get rid of 2016.
I know. 2016 had us by the balls.
You did, and tightly. I'm Tony Toscano.
I am Cici Chambers.
And with us is a very special guest, Rob Diamond. Rob, we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on here.
You're welcome.
Good way to start 2017.
If you don't know Rob Diamond, he's one of the busiest writer, director, producers. What else do you do?
He acts still.
Every once in a while, if I'll appear, in one of my films or a friend's films. But my focus has been on independent films since I think 1999 was the first film that I wrote, directed, and produced. And I've also been teaching film acting since around that time, late '98.
Really?
Rob Diamond's Actors Lounge, and that's been a great joy for me. I still do it. It's ongoing. It's continuous, and so a lot of the films that are shot around here.
What got you started in film?
I always had a passion and love for movies. It was so deep. Movies always moved me to tears or to laughter, and whatever it was, I was so engaged. There was a time where I knew I had to be involved, and so I got into modeling. I'm from California, Dana Point, and I was a surfer at the time. And I was coming out of the water. I was 17. And it was a really busy, hot summer day, packed, and all of a sudden these 3 or 4 suits come walking across the sand and make a beeline to me. And it was a company from Japan for Coca-Cola.
And you're like, I didn't mean to download the music.
Yeah.
My friend told me it was legit.
I was like, I didn't know what was going on. And they had an interpreter.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked me if I wanted to do a commercial for Coca-Cola. And I was like, what? And it turned out to be a really cool commercial we filmed at the San Clemente Pier. It was a summer love story between me and a girl. And I got paid a big fat chunk of change and was with a hot girl. And I love this. And so I broke into the business through modeling. But I always gravitated. I always got cast in commercials where there was something that I was emoting. And so I buried it for a while. I was living in North Carolina and decided that I really needed to do it. I was going to head back to LA to pursue it. I started studying acting with Martin Thompson and Linda Clark. I did a film that did really well at Winston-Salem Film School.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a short film, and I was ready to go, and I made a pit stop here in Utah at a friend here, Stacy Eastman. I was introduced to me through my friend Dallin Smith.
Sure.
And my wife at the time was working for American Airlines, so she got stationed out here, and the first audition I booked was a film with Mickey Rooney.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What movie was
It was called The Face on the Barroom Floor. And it you could see it. I think you could see it online, like on YouTube. But it was a great experience, and I got the bug right there. I decided that I wanted to write and direct and produce my own film at that point.
Wow. And back in the day, you didn't have the cameras like we have now. Everything was really like 10 times more expensive to do something.
It was, and that was tricky, but I think the Canon XL1 had just came out.
I love that camera.
So for me, even though the film was really relevant back then, it was the beginning of the digital revolution. So I've never been a filmmaker that shot on film. So I shot my first film on the Canon XL1.
Oh man.
And if I look back,
nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not. It was a great experience.
It's a little prosumer camera. If you don't know what it is, was it mini DV? Was it a mini DV?
Yeah, it was a mini DV, DVD tape, DV tape. And I wrote the script. I think I knocked the script out in like a month. I raised something like 30 or 40 grand, and I filmed it in here, Utah, Vegas, California. And it was probably the worst film ever made, but it was such a great experience for me.
Will you learn, when we bring people in, we always talk about the difference between the show and the business.
Yes.
And a lot of people are on this side of the camera that don't really want to know how the money is gathered and how a film is kind of laid out and pre-produced. but you do all of that. I mean,
you
literally go down and you know exactly what your shots are every day.
From concept to screen, I've learned the hard way, out of necessity, because I'm an artist by nature, you know. And when I think the first few films I made, I was like, oh, I'm going to make a film, and the world's going to love it. And unfortunately, that's not the way it goes.
Yeah.
And so there's a 3 or 4 year period between, you know, that 3 Days to Live film and another film I did where I really started to contemplate, you know, storytelling and structure and the business side of filmmaking, creating a budget. You know, is there a distribution plan for it? Is there a market for it? And so I've got, I think, good at those things out of necessity, because I had to, because nobody was going to do it for me as an independent filmmaker.
And that's one of the things, like well, I don't know about Tony, because Tony went to film school. I didn't. But like you, I'm an artist. I paint, sculpt, write. My degrees are in writing. And in writing, you learn words for the juxtaposition of your setting within the context of words.
Yes.
Which sometimes crosses over to the juxtaposition of context of your milieu and set on screen.
Yeah.
But there are even times now, like I was watching Slevin last night, and they have that shot of the telephone just sitting there. It's that movie with Bruce Willis.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
And they have a telephone that they bring up repeatedly. They call it back like 4 or 5 times in the movie. And it's just the name of that shot. And it emotes something. Just, it's a telephone at about 7 feet away.
Yeah.
You see the corner of 2 hotel beds, this tacky wallpaper in the background. But it's saying something.
Yeah.
Each time you see it, it says something different. And I'm just like, I wish I had learned those little things, those words in film school or something like that. But it's stuff that you pick up. Do you still pick things up along the way and go, oh, how'd they do that? I like that.
Oh, yeah, constantly. At every film I watch, I'm a student. And, you know, we know that film is a visual medium. So a lot of the unspoken is the most powerful thing. Moments in films, whether it's an actor that's not saying a word but feeling it, or it's an image like you just said. And I think filmmaking for me and writing during producing is, I think I've done 12 feature films to date, and I feel like I'm barely just starting to understand the process.
I once had a really interesting conversation with John Williams, who has scored everything.
Yeah.
Amazing, yeah.
Amazing guy. And we sat and we chatted, and he told me that, you know, music composition is like acting.
Yeah.
He says it's not always the notes; it's the spaces between the notes
Absolutely.
that bring in the color of what you're doing.
I love that, the unspoken, and I talk a lot about that with my actors. Is you talk about colors, different layers of emotions, but some of the best work that great film actors do are when they're not saying a word at all.
Yeah, and that's evident. You know, I look back at great acting because I'm a little older than everybody in this room.
Not much older than me.
By 10 times.
I'm not admitting how old I am.
You're the youngest one. Let's just say that.
I use enough moisturizer that I can deny it anyway.
You look great.
There are certain films that I always go back to because of exactly what you're saying. It's because of not what was spoken, but how it was portrayed. And one comes to mind. It's probably a terrible movie, but Jackie Gleason did a movie that was all silent. It was called Gigot, back in probably the early 60s. And it's a very beautiful film because he plays a mute. And you know, people think of Gleason as the sheriff in, you know, the Cannonball Run and
That goofy guy, but
To the moon, Alice.
yeah, and all of that. But he was a brilliant actor.
he was great. I just watched him in The Hustler.
The Hustler.
He was so, and talk about unspoken.
Yeah.
He was so subtle in that as Fats.
Domino. Yeah, Fats Domino.
No, not Fats.
No.
Domino.
Fats.
Wrong color,
Minnesota-
honey. Wrong
Minnesota
color.
Fats, yeah.
Minnesota Fats
Yeah.
with Paul Newman.
Paul Newman.
What a great thing to bring up, because I was astounded by how powerful his acting was and understated it was.
And
in that
Jonathan
film.
Winters was the same way. We think of him as a comedian.
Yeah.
But what a great dramatic actor he was.
Yeah.
Leslie Nielsen, of course, started out as a dramatic actor and
Yeah.
then did Police Squad and all of those comedies.
Yeah.
Do you find working with people who have a comedy background easier?
I think comedic, you know, actors, like a good one, a local one, he's in LA, knows Adam Johnson. he's a really good comedic actor, but he's also good at the serious stuff. So I think
Wait,
lot of
Adam Johnson from Aerostorm and
he did a lot.
Mythica.
Adam's great,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think that a lot of comedians after have suffer some from emotional things as well, and so they cover it with comedy. And so I've noticed that some comedic actors, a lot of them have a great emotional range on the other side that easily gets overlooked.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey's one of them. We don't allow him, the public doesn't allow him to do drama as much, but like if you ever saw him in The Majestic, I thought it was phenomenal.
Great film.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
film. Laurie Holden is in another.
Yeah, it's phenomenal film.
Are there movies in your youth that you take with you?
Yes, Wizard of Oz
Really?
is a powerful film to me. I love Wizard of Oz. I love Rocky. I love Jaws. I love The Hustler. I love old A Christmas Carol movies. I watched the one.
Alistair Sim.
One of the best.
One of the best.
So
Yeah.
what, from like 1930 something?
Yeah, Gene Lockhart was in. That's June Lockhart's father.
I didn't know that.
Is in that one. And there's my favorite version of A Christmas Carol is the one with George C. Scott.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
He's a phenomenal
Yeah.
actor too. And
I thought it was the one I bought you for Christmas.
oh, that was A Carol for Another Christmas. That was a Rod Serling teleplay.
Yeah, we're sitting at
Oh,
Thanksgiving
really?
dinner, and he's like, we're talking about our favorite Christmas movies, which we
Yeah.
talk about every year. And he's like, oh, my favorite's like this. And I'm sitting there on my phone, and I'm like finding it, and I'm like, and Merry Christmas.
That's awesome.
And that was it.
Movies have had a great impact on my life, and there's so many. I mean, I can't pick just one that's my favorite, but I love Grease.
Really?
Grease,
The original.
The original Grease with John Travolta.
Didn't you throw a Grease birthday party or something like that?
No,
not
well,
too long
last
ago?
year for my 50th birthday party, my wife threw a 50s theme
Oh, okay.
birthday party, which it was so great. But yeah, movies have inspired me my entire life, and they continue to do so.
Are you superstitious?
No, but I'm OCD.
Well, so are there rituals that you have first day of the set, first day of shooting that you have to complete too?
No, my main thing on the first day of shooting is I even tried before that everybody feels comfortable with me.
Mm-hmm.
From the cinematographer, the gaffers, to all the actors, that I have some sort of personal relationship established with them, and they know how much I respect what they're doing as an individual to create the whole of the film. Because I love what Dustin Hoffman says. He says it's the director's painting, I'm just a color in it.
Yeah.
Well, the truth is, as a director, I rely on all the actors, the cinematographer, the gaffers, the sound guys. Everybody is a color that makes that film come to life. So I'm really about relationships, and directing has a lot to do with managing people.
What's the most frustrating thing to you? An actor that doesn't know his lines?
No, that's like, that will make me insane. That should be a no-given, a no-brainer. You have to know your lines. But that, and more than anything else, people who complain on film sets. I've mostly worked in smaller budget realms, anywhere. My lowest budget film I've ever done is $20,000, and the highest budget film I've done is around $700,000. And so sometimes you're eating peanut butter and jelly, and sometimes you have fettuccine Alfredo.
Sometimes you have imported peanut butter and jelly.
Yes, but my thing is this: is if you commit to a project, whatever the pay scale is, whatever it is, if you committed to that project, you treat it with respect and professionalism. So I can't tolerate, and I don't tolerate complaining. If I find out that someone's complaining about something stupid and it spreads like wildfire, I'll nip that in the bud really quickly. Other than that, I feel like I'm really easy and pleasant to work with, because I treat everybody, from if it's a name actor down to the background talent, I treat them with the same love and respect, because they've taken the time out of their life to be a part of my project. And that's how I look at it, is that filmmaking's not a rite of passage, it's an honor. And every film I tell, or every story I tell, film I make, I'm like, this might be my last one. Who knows what's around the corner.
We have an interesting group of people here in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some of the best film people in the world working here. The crews out here are phenomenal.
They are.
And any of the directors that have come in, even the Disney Channel stuff that just come in
Yes.
here, we're always blown away by the professionalism of the Utah crews.
I love that, and I completely agree. is that they've had a lot of time to work on big budget films, television, indie films, and so the crews have gotten very savvy, and the acting as well. I've watched the acting flourish since I moved here in 1998, from bit parts, day players to bigger movies. It's often that one of my students is cast in a supporting part or a starring role in a bigger film. What was that one recently that was filmed up in the Park City Studios? It was the HBO.
Blood and Oil?
No, Mosaic.
Mosaic. I was in that.
Yeah. One of my students, Derek Boone, is a phenomenal actor. He played the co-lead with the detective with Beau Bridges, and so that's a part that used to be cast out of L.A.
Yeah.
But you're seeing a lot more of the actors being cast next to name actors here. So I think just the film industry as a whole, from cast to crew and actors, has grown, and filmmakers as well. We've gotten better.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break, and we'll get back to talking to you about agencies and what actors should be prepared with and all of that as soon as we come back.
Spreading the word about your business, service, or products just got a whole lot easier with our advertising packages to fit everyone's budget. Click today to see how easy it is to advertise on TV. Talking Pictures, it's a great way to spread the word.
Well, hi, how are you doing? This is Cici here. I hope you are enjoying the podcast. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Wizarding Days coming up in February 24th and 25th. As a listener, you have the chance to win one of 3 tickets. Each ticket gets 2 people into Wizarding Days. So if you are into wizarding, muggles, Harry Potter, the whole 9 yards, look us up at talkingpictures.tv or email me at cc@flash1tv.com. First 3 people to email me and mention the Talking Pictures podcast get a ticket.
And we're back with Rob Diamond. I'm Tony Toscano. Cici Chambers is here.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
We've been talking lately about agencies, the role of an agent in this climate here. We're coming to you from Utah. We have a lot of listeners all over the planet.
We do. We're actually number 2 on Geek Factor Radio. We have thousands every week, so we're good.
But being here in Utah, it's a kind of an interesting fishbowl that we're in, where most of the agencies do the same job. They're really just casting extras in movies. We're not really doing the type of work that an agency in Los Angeles does, or New York, where they really take your career and manage it and take an interest in it.
And they look for parts for you to put you in that you actually fit to.
Are you frustrated with agencies?
I understand the situation they're in, because Utah is a great market. I call it Smalleywood. It's not LA or New York, but if you've experienced agencies in LA, like my last film, Love Everlasting, is a mainstream film, and CAA, who's one of the biggest agencies in the world, they were representing me on that film, and they helped me get the distribution outlets, and they're helping me put together a package of bigger budget film. But they're very much about someone's career, making them money. Yeah. So they're incentivized by money, and so they've got the best agents in the world out there that have developed relationships with studios and filmmakers and casting directors. And when they take you on, if you're going to get with CAA or ICM or William Morris, Endeavor, or UTA, or any of those, you're going to be busy, because they're not going to take you unless you're gold for them. Then there's smaller agencies. Then you come back down to Utah. I think a lot of them, the agencies, and I'm going to speak for all of them, but they're just waiting for stuff to come in and a breakdown to come in. Then they submit the actors. I don't know how involved they are with actually going out and networking. Like, one of the things that I tell my actors to do, if your agent's not doing this, you should know every legitimate working filmmaker in Utah.
Yeah.
And there's probably 20 to 30 of us that make a living making films. If I was an actor and my agent wasn't doing that, I would take it upon myself to make sure every one of those knew who I was. Not be aggressive, overly aggressive, but maybe a little email with my reel, my resume, and a headshot. Boom, here I am. I with this agency. because you need to be working with people who are rehiring you.
Yeah.
And so I am frustrated a little bit, but I understand that there's not tons and tons and tons of work constantly. There's a lot of work, but it's not where it's endless like it is in LA or New York.
Yeah, and you're always jumping from one thing to another in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm from LA. That's where I grew up.
So you're very well aware of how agents and managers coexist together and how they are there to navigate that particular talent's career.
Well, not only that, but you have agencies for a film.
Yes.
They're the ones that you turn your film over to, and they make you the deals on that.
Yes.
Here we don't.
No,
none of that exists.
No, it's not like that at all.
And then we have one or maybe two well-known casting directors that live here, but they're always kind of putting the same people in because they give them no trouble. And they have to think in terms of that. I love these guys. I mean,
Me too.
They're good. They're good people.
But it is a little frustrating that sometimes other talented actors aren't, and I think they are given the opportunity, but sometimes casting directors will go to the go-to people because it's comfortable. I think it's safe. And in LA, no one really worries about casting directors. They're respected.
Yeah.
But it's not, I'm going to audition for so-and-so. It's like, no, I'm going on audition to nail this particular film project.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
And Tony knows where I'm going with this already because it's so salient to us because it's something we've been discussing for a couple of days. One of the things I've noticed here is that the predominant religion and cliques that go on within the filmmaking community exercise people, not as in working them, exorcise people who don't fit their idea of how a person should be. Like as a comic, I had an agent tell me, well, you need to watch what you say because, and I'm like, I already self-censor, so I'm not offending too many people.
Yeah.
But as a comic, I shouldn't have to censor myself, period.
No.
And then people think they don't want to hire me because I'm blue. I have blue comedy.
Yeah, but that's closed-minded in any art. Like for me as a filmmaker, I've made a lot of faith-based family films. I'm breaking down into mainstream films. Like my last film, Love Everlasting, is a very mainstream love story, and then I'm getting ready to do another one that's mainstream. But when I go to cast a film, I want the right person for the right part. I'm not doing a background search and see what your political stance or your religion is. If you're a good actor and you're a good professional person and you have the X factor, which I tell actors, do I like you? Yeah. Well, let's work together.
Right, exactly.
And so you'll notice in my films, there's not a lot of the usual suspects.
Yeah, and that's good.
And that's kind of how we bring on shows, too.
Yeah.
It's like, even though people don't necessarily have the production background, that's where I fall in, that's where Tony falls in. But if they have that we're like, okay, well, let's develop it.
Well, you guys would be great producers.
All right, well, I try to be a good producer.
I try to be, yeah.
You guys would be great directors, filmmakers. If you have that mindset, I think I do get frustrated sometimes because I think there's a lot of good actors that haven't had as many opportunities, but as they continue to do it, they break through. And I really,
well, even the director set, because I've known Ryan Little forever. Ryan and I are dear friends.
Yeah, Brian's a great guy.
And Ryan started out really worrying about who was in these films.
Really?
The Kirby Hayborns and all of that. Kirby's a great guy.
Yeah.
But then after you get to a certain plateau, a certain mindset, then you don't worry quite as much as what who you're casting, as long as they're doing a great job and they represent that character to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
you want the best actor. And like I said, that's talented, professional, easy to work with, because there's always one thing I've learned in this business is everybody's replaceable, including me. If I'm not treating people right and I'm not doing my due diligence to the show and the business, that someone else will step in line. And so I think if you're a good person and you're good at your talent, people are going to want to work with you, regardless of what your background. Now, I'm not talking about, criminal background. I'm not talking about that. I'm not gonna, if I knew someone that he was going to harm something on a set, I wouldn't do that. But we're talking about political or religious affiliation.
Yeah, that's so minor.
It's minor.
Mel Gibson is working still, so and actually did a great job with Hacksaw Ridge. Just a beautiful job.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I know he's had some said some foul things that I don't agree with, and we've all said foul things. We've all made mistakes, but as a filmmaker, this dude gets it.
Yeah.
He has his thumb on the pulse of just what an actor, helping an actor be in the moment.
Yeah.
And storytelling and visual. This guy.
I think that's empathetic, a lot of it, because he was, for a long, long time in front of that camera, and I think I like working with directors that have an acting background.
I think they're some of the best in the world. You take some of my favorite directors: Clint Eastwood, Mel Gibson,
Ron Howard,
even Kevin Costner, Dancing with Wolves,
Amy Schumer.
Yeah, there's a lot, and there's a lot of great directors that obviously haven't been actors, but I think an actor's director.
How important is it for actors? Because you're an actor. I'm going to talk to you, the actor, not the director, Rob Diamond, to hone in on acting lessons to keep that going.
I think everybody's different, but I think you get good two ways in life, through practice and experience. And for acting classes, I always tell people, like when they come to me, it's like, if you're coming to me for theater, I'm not your guy. I'm film, so everything I do around my teaching is based around how an actor gets a job. One, auditioning is where most actors are weak, and then what do you do when you show up on set? You're doing scenes. How do you break down a scene? How do you hit your mark, speak the truth? So I think, yes, it can be really helpful to get good instruction. Bad instruction can be damaging.
Oh,
so I tell people, find the right instructors. If you want to do film, go to someone who is engaged in film, or they're making films, or they've been in films, or whatever. If you want to do theater, go to someone who understands that process. But I think learning is an ongoing thing that we do for the rest of our lives.
I really want to keep talking about this with Rob, and so we're going to make this a two-parter.
Sure.
For 2 weeks.
Okay.
So can you come back in a week? No, I'm kidding.
Sure.
We're going to stop the
Actually,
mics.
my office is down the street. I was surprised how
Really?
close you is. I'm just off 90th down the street there.
Wow. We're going to come jump in on you.
Yeah, whenever.
So if you are following us online with the on-demand stuff, just click the next episode and listen to us. If you are on the radio, well, I'm sorry. Go back and listen to last week's, because coming up will be this week's.
Okay.
I am Cici Chambers.
I'm Tony Toscano.
I'm Rob Diamond.
See you next week.
The Talking Pictures podcast is produced by Talking Pictures Productions. Produced by Cici Chambers. Talking Pictures podcast distributed by Geek Factor Radio. Also on SoundCloud, Libsyn, and iTunes. Music and sound effects provided by bensound.com.